Hey everybody, it's Retro DM Ray back on the channel with you. I thought I would come back and do another one of my old school spells videos. I really like these. I've had some decent responses on them. I appreciate those comments. And so I'm really liking doing these. If you're liking these, please leave a comment, give me a thumbs up to like the video, give me a subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate that. Share with others this cool G-rated old school video stuff that we're presenting here. All right, excuse me. So let's take a look at, as I always start out, we're going to take a look at Libram Magica from Basic Fantasy RPG. And this spell is a second level MU spell. The spell is Web. In the Libram Magica, it says the range is 10 feet per level, and the duration is 2 turns per level. Web creates a many-layered mass of strong, sticky strands, filling a volume of 8,000 cubic feet, equivalent to 8 10 by 10 by 10 foot cubes. The strands are similar to spiderwebs, but far larger and tougher. These masses must be anchored to 2 or more solid and diametrically opposed points, or else the web collapses upon itself and disappears. Within this limitation, the caster may choose any arrangement of webs he or she wishes, up to the limit of range and the given 8,000 cubic foot volume. The caster may choose to create a smaller volume if he or she wishes. Creatures caught within a web become entangled among the gluey fibers. Attacking a creature in a web will not cause the attacker to become entangled, but moving through the affected area will. Anyone in the area of effect, when the spell is cast, must make a save versus Death Ray. If this save succeeds, the creature is entangled, but not prevented from moving, though moving is reduced to 1/2 normal movement rate. Such entangled creatures may not cast spells or perform normal attacks. Whether other actions are possible is left up to the game master to decide. Once an entangled creature leaves the area of effect of the web, it will be able to act normally again. If the save fails, the creature is entangled and cannot move or perform other physical action. Speech remains possible, however. Creatures with a strength of 13 or higher, or 4 or more hit dice, may be able to break loose, however. Each round, such creatures are allowed another save versus Death Ray, with results as given above. Creatures failing the initial save, and having strength of 12 or less, or fewer than 4 hit dice, are trapped until the duration expires, or the webs are otherwise removed. The strands of a web spell are flammable. Any fire can set the webs alight and burn away a 10-foot cube in one round. The fire will spread to adjacent 10-foot cubes each round until all the webbing is consumed, or the fire is put out by some means. All creatures within flaming webs take 2d4 points of fire damage from the flames, but if they survive, they are completely free afterward. Okay, there are several interesting things in there that we are going to see that are different when I move to BX. So first of all, as I've said before, BX has such small descriptions that often that can be incredibly elegant. And I kind of like that. That leaves an awful lot to GM fiat or DM fiat when you're running the game. And you can discuss that with your players and come up with any creative aspects and add to it, or anything you want to take away from it at your leisure. All right, BX says this. The range is 10 feet. The duration is 48 turns. This spell creates a mass of sticky strands, which are difficult to destroy except with flame. It will cover and usually block an area 10 by 10 by 10. Giants, see the D&D expert set, or creatures with similar strength can break through a web in 2 rounds, but weaker creatures take much longer to break through. A human of normal strength will take 2 to 8 or 2d4 turns to break through the web. Flames, as from a torch for example, will destroy the web in 2 rounds, but will burn any creature within it for 1d6 points of damage. Anyone wearing Gauntlets of Overpower, see Treasure, page B50, can break free of a web in 4 rounds. So there are several significant differences there between the Basic Fantasy version versus the BX version. The amount of time it takes to break through, the strength requirements necessary, how long it lasts, how much damage you take when it's burned by fire, and how long it takes for the fire to burn it up. And then they add in the Gauntlets of Overpower magical item and how it would thus work in just 4 rounds. So interesting differences there. Now let's get to the BECMI version. So I'm reading from Rule Cyclopedia for this particular one. Web, range 10 feet, duration 48 turns. So that's the same as BX, right? And volume is 10 by 10 by 10, which is the same. This spell creates a mass of sticky strands, which are difficult to destroy except with flame. It usually blocks the area affected. Giants and other creatures with great strength can break through a web in 2 rounds. A human of average strength, a score of 9 to 12, will take 2d4, 2 to 8 rounds, or 2 to 8 turns to break through the web. Flames from a torch, for example, will destroy the web in 2 rounds. But all creatures within the web will be burned for 1d6 points of damage. Anyone wearing Gauntlets of Overpower, a magical treasure, can break free of a web in 4 rounds. So, again, similarities, slight differences in the numbers, right? This one gives you a human average strength range score of 9 to 12. So that's interesting. And the flames will destroy it in 2 rounds. That's the same. All creatures taking a d6, that's the same. And then the Gauntlets of Overpower statement is the same, except for the amount of time it takes to break out with that. All right, so we're getting to see some interesting differences in the spell here. Let's take a look at first edition AD&D and see what it has to say. Of course, web is an evocation, and that's obviously because spell schools were added into here. Level 2, components, verbal, semantic, and material. The range is a ½ inch per level. The duration is 2 turns per level. The saving throw is negates or half. And the casting time is 2 segments with an area of effect that is special. Here's the explanation and description. A web spell creates a many-layered mass of strong, sticky strands similar to spider webs, but far larger and tougher. These masses must be anchored to 2 or more points, floor and ceiling, opposite walls, etc., diametrically opposed. The web spell covers a maximum area of 8 inches, and 8 cubic inches, and the webs must be at least 1 inch thick, so a mass of 4 inches high, 2 inches wide, and 1 inch deep may be cast. Creatures caught within webs, or simply touching them, become stuck amongst the gluey fibers. Creatures with less than 13 strength must remain fast until freed by another, or until the spell wears off. For every full turn entrapped by a web, a creature has a 5% cumulative chance of suffocating to death. Interesting addition. Creatures with strength between 13 and 17 can break through 1 inch or 1 foot of webs per turn. Creatures with 18 or greater strength break through 1 feet of webs per round. In B, sufficient mass equates to great strength in this case, and great mass will hardly notice webs. Strong and huge creatures will break through 1 foot of webs per segment. It is important to note that the strands of a web are flammable. A magical flaming sword will slash them away as easily as a hand brushes away cobwebs. Any fire, torch, flaming oil, flaming sword, etc., will set them alight and burn them away in a single round. All creatures within the webs will take 2 to 8 hit points of damage from the flames, but those freed of the strands will not be harmed. Saving throw is made at -2. If the saving throw versus web is made, 2 results may have occurred. If the creature has room to escape, then he is assumed to have jumped free. If there is no room to escape, then the webs are only 1/2 strength. The material component of the spell is a bit of spiderweb. I love the addition of the components there. I think it has an element of creative gameplay that is difficult to come by when it comes to magic users in the early editions, since the first level magic user had 1 spell. So the more creative things that you could throw in there for them to do, the better off that they were in being played, so they weren't just a squishy d4 hit points and die after casting their magic missile if that was their spell. So I really, really like that. It makes for interesting use of gold and other treasure when you find that, for the magic users to track their material components. If you like that in your game, to be able to find unusual components. We always did it where if you found unusual components, it might adjust how the spell functioned, or adjust the saving throw on the other end, or adjust some other aspects of it because of using some juiced up version of a particular component, for example. All right, so we're moving on to the last edition that we cover for these, which is 2nd edition AD&D. Again, web is an evocation spell. The range is 5 yards per level. Duration is 2 turns per level. Components, again, verbal, somatic, and material. Casting time is 2. Area of effect, 8,000 cubic feet, and saving throw negates or half. A web spell creates a many-layered mass of strong, sticky strands, similar to spiderwebs, but far larger and tougher. These masses must be anchored to 2 or more solid and diametrically opposed points, floor and ceiling, opposite walls, etc., or the web collapses upon itself and disappears. The spell covers a maximum area of 8 10 by 10 by 10 foot cubes, and the webs must be at least 10 foot thick, so a mass 40 foot high, 20 feet wide, and 10 foot deep may be cast. Creatures caught within the webs, or simply touching them, become stuck among the glowy fibers. Anyone in the area when the spell is cast must roll a saving throw versus spell with a -2 penalty. If the saving throw is successful, 2 things might have occurred. If the creature has room to escape the area, then it is assumed to have jumped free. If there's no room to escape, then the webs are only half strength. Creatures with less than 13 strength, 7 if the webs are half strength, are stuck until freed by another or until the spell wears off. Missile fire is generally ineffective against creatures trapped in webs. Creatures with strengths between 13 and 17 can break through 1 feet of web per round. Creatures with 18 or greater strength can break through 2 feet of webs per round. If the webs are at half strength, these rates are doubled. Great mass equates to great strength in this case, and creatures of large mass hardly notice webs. Strong and huge creatures can break through 10 foot of webs per round. Furthermore, the strands of a web spell are flammable. A magical flaming sword can slash them away as easily as a hand brushes away cobwebs. Any fire, torch, flaming oil, flaming sword, etc. can set them alight and burn them away in a single round. All creatures within flaming webs suffer 2d4 points of damage from the flames, but those free of the strands are not harmed. The material component of this spell is a bit of spiderweb. So interestingly, we have several differences there that are standing out between those other editions. If you have heard those unique differences and you have some things to say about them, please chime in the comments and let me know. I'm not going to go back through and look at each key difference and break everything down. Go all back through that again because the video will get a little bit long and I don't want these to be a really long video series. But I do want you to put some things in the comments about that, as well as I'd love to hear your story about how someone used the web spell creatively in your games. I know the Dungeon Minister has a particular scene in one of his videos where his kids use web spell in a pretty cool way. So of course you might want to check out his channel. His videos are absolutely awesome. I know there are probably some other channels that have done that as well out there. But I hope you're liking these videos. I hope this is something you want to continue to hear about. If you do, please chime in the comments and just give me a thumbs up in the comment, as well as liking the video, as well as subbing. A lot of my viewers are predominantly not subscribers, and I'm trying to push to those magic numbers. The amount of subscribers. And I appreciate all those who are on there so far, and all of those who are supporting me in various ways. But I'm really trying to get to those magic numbers so I can do some unique things with the channel. So again, if you're liking these, I appreciate that. I'm trying out different ways as to how to do the videos. You saw in one of them I had a different intro at one point and all of that stuff. I'm trying to keep it as low tech and as low maintenance as possible because I just don't have time in my life to be doing a lot of that editing and the movie making and all that kind of thing for the channel. I just want to present some cool material for you, give you some things to think about, and get your creative juices flowing, inspire you maybe perhaps, and start some discussion about some things. So again, I appreciate all of you tuning in, and I hope you have some great games. Prosper and good gaming. Take care. Later.